The views and opinions expressed here on Wrestling Wind Down are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of any other agency, organization, employer, or company. What's up, guys? It's Lo, and you are tuned in to Wrestling Wind Down, a female-founded and hosted podcast dedicated to professional wrestling and our favorite adult beverage. If you are looking for a new author, specifically a wrestling romance author, to add to your library, I have just the thing for you. Our guest, Jensen Parker, is a lifelong wrestling fan, as well as the author behind the latest wrestling romance novel, Heartbreaker, a second chance pro wrestling romance. Jensen is spilling the wine on her lifelong love of professional wrestling, as well as her journey on how she first got into professional wrestling, stepping into the ring herself, as well as the superstars and promotions that have kept her hooked over the years. Jensen is also spilling the wine on her writing career, including what inspires her to write, her creative process, and the stories and authors that have influenced her. And of course, we'll be talking all about her latest novel, Heartbreaker, including why wrestling was the perfect backdrop for this novel, how the story came together, and the response that she has received from both wrestling fans as well as romance fans. I can't let Jensen leave without having a manifestation moment with her. She is manifesting what she wants to happen next in her writing career. She may be hitting that big screen sometime soon. So grab your favorite glass of bubbly. We're going in for the 3 count. We are back with another episode of Wrestling Wind Down. This episode is perfect for my wrestling baddies who love to read. Even if you aren't a wrestling baddie and you like to read, maybe you want a little bit of romance and wrestling in your life. I am joined by Jensen Parker. She is the author of Heartbreaker, which is the newest wrestling romance on the market. Let's talk about your wrestling background before we dive into the book. How did you get into professional wrestling, and what has kept you a fan?
I've always been into it. I grew up watching. It's like in the blood. I started watching, just for as long as I can remember. And then it was one of those things where like you watch and then you kind of fall off, and then you watch and then you kind of fall off. I actually used to train for professional wrestling when I was younger, when I was in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was always really fun. But then I got hurt and had to have knee surgery. And so I was like, fine, I guess I'll go to college. I'll do the adult thing, not become a wrestler. It's fine. It's always been around. It's always been a thing. You know, I was a Stone Cold girlie. I was an Undertaker girlie. Those were my guys. And then here we are.
Let's talk a little bit about your wrestling training. What made you say, you know what? I know I can get in this ring. I know I can kick ass just like the rest of them. What prompted you to look into going to a wrestling school and actually committing to being a wrestler?
I just loved it. I mean, I'd see like Trish and Lita up there kicking butt and be like, I could do that. I want to do that. I was also the one who was like always friends with the guys and always, roughhousing around, and just it felt like it made sense to do something like that. My mom and my stepdad at the time, I was on a school trip and they went to meet Kofi Kingston when he was in town. While they were standing in line, they met the owner at the time. It was a wrestling promotion in Ohio, and they did like training on the back end with some of their guys. But they met him, and they were talking about it, and they're like, oh yeah, and my mom was like, yeah, my daughter, she couldn't be here because she's at a school thing, but she really loves it. She's always wanted to like get into this. And he was like, we'll bring her to a show, let her meet the guys, let her,
Now your mom
involved.
giving the elevator pitch.
So we went and I met them all, and I started actually babysitting the owner's kids, and like it was super involved. It literally just kind of like found my way into it, and then I got hurt, and it was like even after I had surgery though, like I'd go up and I couldn't do anything, but I'd go to the shows and like help out when they would let me, because they'd be like, you literally are on crutches. You cannot do anything. But I wanted to go, so I went.
A for effort.
And then I realized, I was like, my knee isn't gonna hold up for this. So I went to college.
Who are some of your favorite wrestlers to stay in tune with now?
I might be cliche, but I'm a Cena girl. I love John Cena. Even though this is his last year, sad December 13th, I'm gonna cry. It's fine.
You and me both.
I'm not ready. But some of the newer names that I watch, I love Stephanie Vicaire. Ever since she came on, I'm like there's just something about her that I gravitate towards. And I think it's just because you can tell her passion. She has like real passion for it.
Yeah.
And I love that. I go back and forth with Tiffany. Like there's times where she kind of gets on my nerves, but there's other times where I really like to watch her in the ring. I like Dominic Mysterio. Like I love to hate him. I love to watch him do backstage segments. I think that they're hysterical. And when he's in the ring, I love to like boo him. So he's just somebody I love.
You're
boo.
fulfilling his mission.
The day he turns babyface, I'm screwed. Maybe he won't. Maybe he'll just be a lifetime heel and I'm okay with that. That's fine. And I love LA Knight. There was like a point in time before the last year probably where I kind of didn't watch a lot. And I had a friend who was obsessed with LA Knight and she actually lives in London. And I was like, who? And she's like, LA Knight. I'm like, I'm sorry, who? Like, who is this person? And so I was like, is he a UK wrestler? She's like, no, he's WWE. I'm like, didn't know. But now I watch him. I need you to get the title. I need you to get the gold. I like you a lot. But I'm also an Orton girl, so I need more of him. I feel like we haven't gotten a lot of him this year, so I could go for some more Orton this year.
What are some of your favorite promotions to watch?
So I mostly pay attention to WWE. I will watch some AEW. I feel like I watched more AEW when they first came out than I do now. But I love Jon Moxley. I knew Jon Moxley before he went to WWE, though. So he actually wrestled in the promotion that I trained in before he left. So I kind of keep up with him a little, and I keep up with Brian in AEW. Like I said, I mostly pay attention to like WWE, which like I know I need to branch out more because I love WWE, but they're going stale on me again. So
Let's get into your writing career. How long have you been writing and what inspired you to start?
Again, it's something I've always done. I was literally that kid that walked around with a notebook everywhere I went and had an idea, I'd write it down. I still have notebooks somewhere. I think that they're over here in my shelf, but I have like 3 spiral-bound notebooks, and there are literally books that I wrote in middle school and full out character development, everything. Will they ever see the light of day? No, but that's okay. They're there. I've always done it and I really loved it. And in high school, I went to Harvard in between my sophomore and junior year and took a summer semester at Harvard. And I did creative writing classes there and I took a literature class, and it really just kind of like cemented for me that like, yeah, this is really what I want to do. Did I go to college for that? No. Did I end up leaving college with an English degree? Yes, I did.
Where do you usually draw inspiration from? I'm sure it's probably changed, along the years as you've been writing, but nowadays, where do you draw inspiration from?
Anything and everything. Like for Heartbreaker, it was just my love for wrestling and wanting to do something different, and there's not really any wrestling romance books out there. Like there's a few, but it's not a very big market. So it was definitely one of those things where it was kind of a risk, but decided to take it and go for it just because I love wrestling. It really just depends. It also kind of depends on what I'm writing, like where to get that inspiration from. I love a good Pinterest board. Those are great for good vibes and stuff like that. Yeah. I love a good Pinterest board. Or just like going through, it's called dupe photos, and they're like aesthetically pleasing, what they consider stock photos. And I love going through there looking for like vibes.
I'll have to look into that. Were you on Wattpad?
Oh, girl, yeah.
Were you writing wrestling fanfics on the Wattpad?
So I actually didn't publish on Wattpad, but I was a Wattpad girly. I just watched a TikTok on this, and it was like the girls who read nowadays and don't appreciate these books and think that they're like too slow or that there's too much information. Like, you clearly were not a Wattpad girly. We were reading 100-chapter stories that like spanned years and years and years. Like, come on.
That is crazy. I've seen a couple in the last couple years, and I'll look through it, and I'm going to be honest with you, I don't read through all of it because I found some that are about, 25, 30 chapters. I'm like, okay, I need a short story. I need a summary.
Listen, my editor and I actually talk about this a lot. I don't even know why, but it comes up, and we're like, remember that one time? We're like, do you remember, did you do this? And we're like, yeah. I feel like we were all a special kind of breed growing up.
What does your writing process typically look like? Are you an outliner? You mentioned that you do the Pinterest boards, you go on the stock websites.
Mhm.
Do you outline extensively, or are you more of writing organically?
I actually tend to write down certain points that I want and know that I need to hit along the way. Or if I know that there's like a certain scene that I want to happen, or like a certain quote that I know that I want in there, I'll write them down. I still carry a notebook with me everywhere, or my phone notes app. It's filled with things like that. So my first draft is always in a screenplay draft. So very minimal description, very heavy on dialogue. Now, if there's like something specific that I want written out or described out, then I'll do it in there. But I really try to focus and hone in on that dialogue at first. But I guess that you could say the screenplay is kind of like an outline-ish, maybe? So it starts off like that, and then I translate that screenplay into an actual like manuscript draft. I start off with kind of like 40 to 45,000 words in the screenplay, and that translates generally into like 80 to 90 in the first draft. And then I send that to my editor, and then it generally ends up like Heartbreaker ended up being 139,000 words. So
Wow.
it was a lot, but the others have been like 92 or 95 or right over 100. It just kind of varies. But yeah, I don't know that I so much outline. I feel like I'm in between, a happy medium. I have a lot of people who come to me and ask me about writing and about like starting and getting through it. And two things that are really important for people are your first draft has to be bad, and you have to let it be bad. I mean, it just is what it is. It's part of it. And I actually am really hard on myself about that too. And I have to remind myself that. But also, your characters are in control, not you. Don't fight them because you're never going to get done. Like, you have to let it be organic. To like some degree, you're in charge. But if they start to like veer off of this really strict outline that you put out, maybe this is better. As you learn more things about them and the story, you gotta let them be who they're gonna be.
Do you draw inspiration from any authors or stories that you've read personally?
I don't know that it's any one author or story so much. I'm somebody who I like to read as I write, which I know that some people don't like to do that. But I feel like it helps me kind of keep going. Or if I feel super stuck on something, I try to tell myself it's okay to take a break for a second and go like read or go for a walk or go do something. But if I'm like writing a romance, I'll usually go read a romance and kind of helps me get into the flow of things sometimes.
Heartbreaker, a second chance. It is a pro wrestling romance. What made you think of wrestling as the backdrop of this story?
This was not the book I was supposed to be writing right now. I honestly don't remember what it was that made me go, I'm going to switch to wrestling next. Because I always had it on my list, because I have a list of stuff I want to do. But I always had it on my list of like, I want to write a wrestling romance one day, just with my knowledge and love of it and my background in it and having friends in it and stuff. But it was like end of last year at some point, I was talking to a couple author friends of mine. And I said, I think I'm going to do wrestling next. And they're like, you're not even done with your other series yet. And I was like, well, it's coming. And I want to say that I started working on it in like February. Yeah, it was around February that I really started to dive into it. And then it was around WrestleMania where I actually started writing that first draft of it. But I just decided, I was like, you know what? There's not many wrestling books. Let's do it. And as I was sitting there watching WrestleMania, working on the first draft, I was like, yeah, this is it.
You mentioned wrestling novels. Have you read any of the wrestling romance novels that are out there?
I have not, but I have had a couple people come up and be like, I've only seen like one other one and it's this. So I feel like I have a vague idea of what's out there just from people coming up.
I wonder if we're thinking of the same one.
I haven't read it. I feel like I should.
How long did it take you to develop the storyline and bring your book to life?
The beginning of the year was when I really sat down because I had the last 2 books of my first series pretty much done at that point, and they were like with my editor. So I had the chance to really sit down and work on this one. I actually had one scene fully written out that I had played around with last year. It was like
wow. Okay.
September-ish when I started playing around with it because I was actually stuck in one of my other books and I was like, I'm going to do this. So I wrote it out. So I kind of had an idea of who they were going to be and what the main storyline was going to be. Like she's gone, comes back, they were exes, that kind of thing. And they have to now tag team together. Like I knew the basic part of that. But it took me a little bit it was very intentional. I wanted the in-ring elements to somewhat mirror what was going on in real life too. So obviously it's not like beat for beat that they're mirrored, but things are similar in that way. And I also wanted to be very intentional about, because he's older than she is. So I didn't want him to come across as like this whiny little baby who, like, or her because she's younger. I didn't want it to be like immature love. I wanted it to be they are mature. So I was very intentional about, now don't get me wrong, there's a little bit of immaturity because let's be real, everybody has a little bit of immaturity, even a man in his late 30s. Okay. Well, a man is a man. But I was very intentional about trying to make sure that they weren't coming across as like super immature, or I didn't want it to be like super miscommunication trope. Like there's reasons for why certain things aren't said or left out. It's not just because going back to your first question, I would say probably just a few months of like getting it like flushed out enough to where I felt like I could write it out. But also as I was writing it out, there were things that I didn't know before. So in the book, everything has a date on it because in wrestling, everything is done on, a certain day of the week or whatever. So I definitely like had to sit down and like line out what was going to happen on certain dates and things like that. So that took a little bit, but even then, like I had to course correct a couple times. So it was a little harder than I initially thought it would be. But in the end, I had a lot of fun with it.
How did you settle on the title of Heartbreaker?
Every title in this series is actually going to be based on, so every book will have somebody in some fashion that is under the umbrella of EWE, which is the company that I created and did all the things in the book and that they wrestle under. So there's always going to be at least one character involved in EWE in some form or fashion. So every title is either going to be their gimmick name or their finishing move. So Heartbreaker is the female main character in Heartbreaker is Savannah, and she goes by ring name Savvy Sky, but her finishing move is called the Heartbreaker. So that's where the title came from.
When do you usually figure out what your title is going to be? Before, during, after you finish the novel?
It just depends. I go into it I used to not go into it with an idea. My first book, the name changed 5 times. And then the second book, I kind of had to get into it a little bit. And then I realized what I wanted it to be. Third book, I knew right away what I wanted it to be. Fourth book was a little harder because I didn't want to give anything away. And this one, I knew once I decided where the titles were going to come from, then I knew that I was just going to go for her finisher, which for some reason I already had it written down as Heartbreaker from back in September of last year. And I was like, sold, let's go. Heartbreaker it is. These titles are probably going to be a little bit easier just because most of the characters I've already created and flushed out and stuff. So I know the majority of their finishers or their gimmicks. It's just a matter of choosing which one works better with the story that I'm going to tell.
What about book covers? Is it the same thing?
Yeah, so sometimes I go into it knowing. Heartbreaker, I knew what I wanted. Like, I knew that I wanted to have the two of them in the ring with their hands in the air. I knew that going forward. I kind of have an idea for book 2 what I want. It's just a matter. So I do my own covers.
Oh, wow.
And so
Okay,
it's
I was
just,
wondering that. Yeah.
yeah. So I do my own. So it's a matter of testing my limits and how well I can go without needing to get help. So because it takes me a long time, just because I don't really consider myself an artist in that fashion. You know, that takes a lot. But I generally try to have an idea of what I want. But there's other times where I'll just write the book and then I'll give it to my editor and I'm like, okay, now I can focus on the cover. But I have another book coming out next year, and I've always known what I want that cover to look like since I started working on that book. I probably got like 10,000 words into it.
Oh,
And
wow.
I had this scene that happened, and I was like, that would be such a cool cover to have that, but I can't draw that. Like, I know that I can't do that. So I'm going to have to, like, find somebody to do it that can give me what I want. So it's just a matter of, like, can I do it? Do I have to have somebody else? So it all varies.
What has the reception been like so far from romance readers versus wrestling fans?
Honestly, like, I was a little nervous to see the reaction from both sides. But honestly, it's been really great. The romance community has been very open to it. I have only had a couple people roll their eyes at me when I tell them it's pro wrestling. But all in all, I think that both sides have been very receptive to it and actually a lot of intrigue for it. They're like, oh, wrestling, that's new. There's really no wrestling. And I'll say, yeah, it's why part of the reason I went for it. And I've just grown up around it. So I figured, why not? But yeah, I'd say overall, there really hasn't been any. Both sides have been very receptive to it. I get a lot of, like, somebody will post it, and then next thing I know, like, 2 of their friends are like, oh, I just ordered it. I'm like, solid. Let's go. But I'm always open to just, like, chatting about it with people. I mean, I get into these, like, long conversations with people, especially at signings and stuff. They're like, oh my God, you like wrestling? I like wrestling. Nobody likes wrestling. And I'm like, actually, there's a lot of people who like wrestling. They just don't talk about it.
That is true. Very true. Were there any surprising moments or challenges while you were writing Heartbreaker?
The matches. Because so there are on-page matches in the book. I literally had to choreograph out these matches. And you would think that it's easier than it is. It's not. It's actually really hard. So twist my arm that I had to sit around and watch wrestling, but it actually made me really tired to do it, I'll say. Having to sit there and make sure that, like, everything lined up, and just, like, I wanted to make sure when I was writing out the matches that it made sense to people. So, like, somebody like us could probably read something like that and know what's going on. But I wanted it to be where somebody who hasn't watched wrestling, or maybe they watched it when they were a kid, but they don't watch it anymore, if they picked it up, they could read it and follow along with the movements and figure out what's going on. Yeah, I wanted to give them that imagery, but also not feel like they were lost in it either. Also, every move to some degree tells part of the story too. So when are they hitting their finisher? Why are they doing it? Did they get the pin with it? You know, those kind of things. So it was a lot of brain power, and it made me really tired. Like, I'd write one match and I'd be like, man, I gotta go take a nap. Like, I need a nap after that. That was probably one of the harder parts of it. And like I said, I really enjoyed it, but it was hard. I'm working on a novella for the end of this year, and there's only one match in that. So that one really wasn't as hard because it's a very quick one, very quick scene. But, like, book 2 is about another wrestler, and he's going to be in the ring, and, like, I got to write out 4 or 5 matches again. I'm already tired.
So, speaking of writing out matches, I'm not sure if you heard, but it is rumored that WWE is now using AI to write storylines. Seeing as you have written out matches yourself, you're almost writing a storyline when you're writing a book. How do you feel about this?
I don't like it.
Yeah.
I'm very anti-AI. I hate that they're gonna give this machine the ability to do what I do or what other people like me do. Yeah, it might save you money, but are you getting the same product? No, I don't think so. I don't feel that way. I was actually one of the authors who had their books used to train AI. So it doesn't make me, I wasn't very happy.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So is that something that you sign off on, or is that something that they kind of just...
No. They
Can
did
you
not
sue?
ask. So apparently there's some like class action thing going on or something. How do you like go about doing that? You know what I mean? There's a whole like list of us, and there's like a whole database of all the authors that they used and all the books that they used. On one hand, you're like, wow, I made the list. I was good enough. But on the other hand, you're like, really? Like, come on. So
how do you find out about that? Like, was it something that you stumbled upon? Was it someone that like you knew sent you the list? Like, that is crazy.
Someone that I knew texted me the link and said, you need to see if your name is in here. And then I saw it on social media where it was a whole, like it blew up. And because somebody was like, my name is on this list and they were using it. And so I went and I searched my name in the database. I'm not a big fan of AI. So when I saw that like WWE was doing it, I'm like, am I shocked? No, I'm not shocked because they want to, save money and not pay writers, I guess. But at the same time, I'm like, your storylines aren't always the best anyway. Now you're going to leave it up to a machine. But that's just me. That's just me.
Who are we to judge? Let's say you are casting for Heartbreaker on screen in the movie theater. Who is one wrestler that you would like to be in that adaptation?
I would probably do Randy Orton, the character Wolf. So when I was writing the characters, I like pulled different pieces from different wrestlers, right? Like the things I remember over the years and just like what I wanted them to be like and different gimmicks and things like that, and kind of molded the different characters. But I will say that like my character Wolf, I mostly made him like Orton. Or like how I remember Orton being. Not to say that he's like solely Orton, but definitely like he would be my Randy Orton. I would probably put Brie Bella as the best friend in Heartbreaker. So Rayanne, I'd probably make her Brie. It's really hard to pick like Savannah and John because I never want like my main characters to be like I don't want you to look at them and see those exact people like right away, unless it did get cast, then that's a little bit different.
We could leave some mystique to it. You gave us two.
Yeah, some mystery. Yeah, I'd say like Brie and Randy could totally be in there. I will say that like one of the antagonists in Heartbreaker, he was very much like a CM Punk, Seth Rollins kind of ish, like Dominic Mysterio. So like one of those three for the antagonist, I'd be down for that.
Okay, those are good picks. We are all about manifestation here on WWD. What are you currently manifesting for your writing career? Is there something that you are just like, you know what, I want to manifest this, I want to put it out into the universe, I want it to happen? Let us know, girl.
I mean, we just talked about it. I'd love to get it into a movie or a TV show.
There we go.
One day. My husband is all about that. He literally will be in an event because he's normally my assistant, best assistant there is. And he'll be like, okay, but like, what if a TV producer walks? I'm like, babe, stop. He's like,
he's dreaming big.
He is. He literally, every time, he's like, I'm going to sell it for you. I'm like, go for it. You do you, boo.
See, you have a lot of people in your corner who are elevator pitching for you.
Oh, my husband he tries real hard to sell. And there's definitely been times where like, I'll walk away for a second and I'll come back and he'll be like talking to people. And I have like a little sign for my first 4 books that like point out the tropes. And I literally will watch him turn and point like Vanna White. And I'm like, you know what? That's fine. You're selling. I'm here for it.
Thank you, Jensen, so much for joining me here on Wrestling Wind Down. Where can the people keep up with you on social media, and where can they purchase your novels?
Yeah, so I'm mostly on Instagram. So my handle is at Jensen Parker Author. I'm on TikTok. I need to be better about TikTok, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
but it's the same handle.
They're waiting for you.
I know. I have all the links for everything on my website. So it's jensenparker.com. I have various local bookstores carrying it all over the country. I have a couple Barnes & Nobles carrying it, and then on my website.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Wrestling Wind Down. You can find all of our other episodes available wherever you listen to your podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, and iHeartRadio. We are on Twitter and Instagram at WWDCAST. We also have our official merch store, which you can find at shop.wrestlingwinddownlv.com. Let us know what you thought about this episode. What was your favorite part? Until next time, enjoy your wine and, of course, enjoy your wrestling. Cheers!